Okay, so here we are again. Some maybe first time, and a week has passed. So I'll begin again with the salutation to the Triple Gem. Yoso Bhagavan Araham Dhamma Sambuddho Vakato Yena Bhagavanda Namo Supatipanno Yasa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Dhamayam Bhagavantam Sadhammam Sasangham Imehi Zangare Yanaraham Ropidehi Yapepujayama Sadhuno Bande Bhagava Sujira Parini Buddhopi Vajima Jananan Gamba Manasa Ime Sangare Do Katapana Nara Pude Padigan Hado Amhagam Dikaranam Hindaya Sukhaya Rahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Undang Bhagavandang Abhivade Swakado Bhagavanda Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namayam Buddhasa Bhagavato Upavakanamakarang Rumamsi Namo Dasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhasa Namo Dasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhasa Namo Dasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhasa. So let's take some time to settle in. So I think in certainly meditation, you want to keep things pretty simple and direct. Most of our practice is about deconstruction of mental complexities in order to really see, reveal the nature of citta, so it's less encumbered with ideas and theories and aims and drives. And so very simple grounding, steadying. And again, ideally, references that one can use in a number of situations. They're not too situation specific. Like a body, that's always around. Breathing is always around. Today, I just mention something or tune into quality. This sense of I. This is quite crucial for understanding citta. Citta is, say, the subjective mind, the mind that feels, senses, is touched. It's very much the place where you are touched, psychologically touched, your psyche. Very subjective. And so we bring up the sense of I. Now, I, normally that's associated, I do something, I think something, I am something, I'm not something, I wish I was something. And I just cut off all that and just go to that fundamental sense of I. Even think the word and see what happens. And you let go of the body image, gender definition, nationality, I. Really into the crucial core of one's awareness. Before it's aware of anything in particular. I. The I before the word am occurs. It's a very open, sensitive point. Center. Citta centers around this I. Feels confusing, ask yourself, how am I? Yeah. And then whatever, put aside how I am, just to the fact of being receptive. And do it however many times you need to establish a certain purity of direction and steadiness. This is the I that's not a person, it's not bound up in age or circumstance or time or place. It's always there, it's always a reference point. And it's mysterious. It's both very central and yet has no particular characteristic other than sensitive, aware. An attention that's going past circumstance, psychologies, personality. And what happens? What stops happening? How do things change? Now, to integrate this with the most intimate circumstances, I receive. Use this word, I receive. I receive the experience of body. I'm fully open to and receive the direct experience of being embodied. Its warmth, pressure, tingles, sensations. Making an inclination, an encouragement just to receive it, not to know it, change it, just to receive this experience. So it's a slight opening or inclination of the chitta, the I am, the I, the awareness to embodiment. What tells you you have a body? What tells your chitta you have a body? Pressures, warmth. And how is that? Receiving. As much as comes in. I notice very strong impressions and subtler impressions. So you just scoop up, receive whatever is available. Interested in, is there anything more here? In all this body experience. And your steadiness is on the act of receiving. And one could dwell in that very usefully for an extended period of time. But just in this check-in outline, receive the mind. What is mind? How do you know you have a mind? Probably busy, thoughts, emotions, inclinations. Yeah, fairly active. And not going into any detail, but just the whole bag of it. You've got a big bag full of puppies jumping around. You're not just holding the bag, receiving the bag. And all you want to do is learn how to receive and don't go into the bag for right now. Or is that, does any effect in terms of body experience? Any of these? Find ourselves more or less jumping into that bag by default. Ask yourself, how is the body with this? Eating, disappearing, activating, sinking, and return to body, establishing that, and then is it possible to stay in body, receiving mind, just as mind. Your exercise here, to remind you again, is to not go into that mind bag. Or if you find yourself more or less thrown into it, how is your body now? And draw back, climb out to your body, witnessing mind. So you're standing in the body, like standing by the bank of a river. There's stuff flowing by, not jumping in, receiving. And then receiving suffering. It's the oppressive quality of dukkha, the incisive, the demanding of dukkha, stress, returning to the body, yourself getting tensed up, widening your lens to go all the way over your body, down into your feet, your hands, your face, your head, relaxing. Receiving the characteristic of the incomplete, the unresolved, the disappointing, the stressful. And this can go on for a while too. But for now, we're just the last gesture. Give. I give. I am the giver. I've been the receiver. I am the giver. To any of this, not the person, not trying to make something else happen, but just having the gesture of opening to give. What is a giving heart? Maybe just giving space. It's not subtle. It's a gesture. One no longer resists, dismisses, tries to get over anything. Could be just giving space. It's that inclination, non-grasping. So let's pause here for today.
Brahmajaloka Thipati Sahampati Katan Chali Ana Hiwarang Ayajata Santi Tasata.
Okay, we'll take that. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So it's again about citta and the Buddha's whole emphasis and interest in his teaching and the many things he said he knew, said, but not important. The only thing I'm teaching you is cessation of suffering and stress. That plenty to be getting on with, which I think you'll probably agree with. So the causes of it, he nailed it down to the causes of it being tanha, craving, thirst, kind of compulsive psychological reflex to take things in, and ignorance, not even really knowing that, or understanding it, or knowing that it doesn't have to be that way. So the unawakened, the untrained chitta is really by default is always taking something in, and in that searching for certain fundamental qualities, security, one of them, which we get through owning something, possessing something, territory, security. I've got this, I know where I am, I've got my stuff, and so on. I've got my people, I've got an identity, I can do this, building up an identity. Bhava, it's called bhava, becomings, that thirst for continuing a solidity, being a solidity that can continue being solid. Well, what's wrong with that? Well, it doesn't, because it takes a lot of work. It doesn't quite get that solid. It's always tended to crumble as pieces of territory or pieces of one's identity pass away. Because that's the nature of it, isn't it? We identify with our relationships, our people, my son, my partner, my friends, and they pass. And when they pass, something that's going, be lost. Part of me disappears. Part of my reference point. We search for happiness in what the chitta can go out to in terms of sight, sound, touch, thought, comfortable, agreeable, interesting, inspiring, gratifying, and so forth. Intellectual certainty is a great source of desire. And this, again, certainly in the, canonical or Sutta Buddhism, which is prior, emphasis to prior to Theravada, which certainly uses those suttas, but these Pali suttas are actually pre-Theravada, pre-everything, really. This is before these different lineages and forms started developing. We're looking for intellectual certainty of that. It goes a certain way. You can know all about factors, enlightenment factors, and ethical qualities, and meditation instructions, but you don't get down to what's here, what's reality. And so these are ones that Buddha leaves unanswered, such as what's the nature of Tathagata? Does he exist, not exist, neither exist? No. What happens when you die? What happens when an awakened one passes away? No. What's the nature of Nibbana? Peaceful. Is there a so there are lots of intellectual gaps, because the answer is you can't get this through the intellect. As it's renowned, well, I think very interesting dialogue between two arahants, Sariputta Mahakotita, and Mahakotita saying, well, what is it like when the six spheres of sense contact, when sense impressions cease? Is it as nothing? And Sariputta says, no, I wouldn't say that. Is there something? No, I wouldn't say that. Is there neither something nor nothing? No. How about, he says, well, you said no to all these things. You say, no, it's not there's nothing, it's not there's something, it's not there's neither, it's not there's both. Why is this? He says, because you're trying to conceive something that can't be conceived of. When those fields of sense contact, which remember is intellect contact, thought, when that quietens down, you can't, by definition, you can't think what that is. You can't get an idea of it. So people find it's very frustrating. So we get to this kind of the limit, and Buddha said, look, all I'm going to tell you is the path to that place that I've traveled for your welfare. And along, you can recognize every step you make in that path will make you feel better, more comfortable, more free. So just keep going. At the end of it, all the definitions fade out. All the definitions cease. Even the sense of, being a person, no. Being located in space and time. Am I eternal? No. Am I not eternal? No. Am I annihilated? No. Wouldn't say that. Am I not annihilated? No. Because the very sense of I am is already just not a real thing at all anyway. So he says, does not arise. Does not arise. Does not arise. There's a sense of cessation of phenomena that arise. And this is occasionally described. Again, a very wonderful sutta, 1264, the Samyutta Nikaya 1264. The Buddha's talking about, when passion ceases, when there's no passion. And when you're talking about passion, we're not just talking about real heavy duty craving. This is the whole impassioned nature of wanting to know, wanting to have. He says, when that quietens down, he says, well, it's rather like, can you imagine the sun landing on a wall? You take the wall away, where does the light go? And you say, well, it lands on the floor. Take the floor away, where does that go? Where does the light land? And says, well, it lands on the earth. Take the earth away, where does it land? Well, it lands in the water underneath the earth. Take the water away, where does it land? It doesn't land anywhere. It says, well, when the citta is purified, there is no basis for the establishment of consciousness. When the citta is purified, there is no basis. When there's no passion for consciousness, for elements of consciousness, for mind consciousness, for ideas, for becoming something, for being something, for not being something. And there's no passion for any of that drive. When that drive ceases, there's no basis for the establishment of consciousness. Yeah. So name and form do not arise. That is, no particular form arises, no particular object, subtle, even very refined form does not arise. Naming, that is, the perceptions and the inclinations also do not arise. So we're looking, so yeah. And as soon as you go, you think, well, it sounds pretty dreary to me. No, dreariness does not arise. Boredom does not arise. Negativity does not arise. It's not annihilationism. So if it's not annihilated, so it is liberated. It is liberated from the asava. So it's not annihilation. Now, there's nowhere in the suttas where they say the citta ceases. Consciousness is described as ceasing, cessation. That word nirodha, that is applied. In the suttas, we do not see a reference to citta nirodha, we see, which is, and there's possibility, and there's certainly an opportunity for that, and quite significant, and interesting for my mind anyway. Look in Samyutta 4742. 4742 of the Samyutta Nikaya, with the origination, with the arising up of name and form. Name and form means form, some kind of mental object or tactile object, plus the descriptions and the agitations and the inclinations and the stirrings around that. When that arises, citta activates, it rises up. Samudaya, it rises. It comes like you switched it on, it gets, rising up. And then the activities start. Now, then it says, with the ceasing of name and form, there is the setting of the citta. And the word that's used there is atangamo, atangamo. Clearly, it'd be very easy to say, when the samudaya, origin of name and form, samudaya citta, nirodha, name and form, nirodha citta. But it does not say nirodha citta, it says atangamo. And atangamo is a word that's used to describe the setting of the sun. Sunset, atangamo. So when the sun goes down, it's not ceased. Yeah, in a sense, it's not. But it's just not. It's sunset. So the light isn't shining on objects, but it does not say that the citta has ceased. So we're in this very interesting zone, something that's neither exactly existing nor non-existing. It's in this non-manifest mode. And this non-manifest mode, you get this term, the anidasana vijnana. That is, there is a consciousness associated with that, with the setting, with the name and form, objects, mental objects, tactile objects, thoughts, emotions, psychologies, drives. When those stop, switch off, yeah, then this is called the anidasana vijnana, the non-manifest or non-traceable consciousness, which literally get a little bit of excitement around these terms, because normally consciousness, 95% of the time, 99% of the time, it's saying it stops. Well, here it's called anidasana. And he said, this is the end of suffering. It's a consciousness that does not have an object. Yeah. Now, if we want to use another analogy, say you are, as we all do, we look up in the sky, we see the moon. Moon is shining bright. And probably, you know, when you're a child, you might think the moon is luminous. And adult, you say, no, it's not, the sun is shining on it. That's why it's bright. Because the sun is shining on that object in the sky. Yeah, the sun is shining on it. But you think, well, I can't see any light going towards that moon. Right? Now, if we were standing on the moon, we're standing on the surface of the moon, and we look around, we see pitch black, except these dots of light. And we look around, we see the earth is shining. Yeah. And we say, well, that's shining because of the sun shining on the earth. But we see no rays of light streaming from the sun to the earth. In between the sun and the earth, it's dark. You do not see light traveling to the earth. We see the earth glowing. So we think, oh, the earth is luminous, shining. But the instructed person will say, no, the earth is not luminous. It's just reflecting the rays of the sun, even though you can't see the light passing. It's non-manifest. It only becomes manifest when it touches an object, right? What color is a red wall in the middle of the night? It's not red, is it? When you switch the light on, it becomes red. What happened to the red? Where did it go? Where did it go? So it didn't manifest. Do you mean it's not red? Well, not really. It's a red wall. It's just that when the light's on, it's red, but when the light's off. So where did the red go? And how did it come on so quickly? You say, well, it's kind of always there, but it only manifests when the light shines on it. Now, if there's no switching on of the light, what color is the wall? And what the Buddha's pointing to is saying, if there is no particular passion or interest in a thought, or in a touch, or in a taste, or an idea, then there's no passion, the light doesn't land on those. Right? Therefore, you don't get these glowing objects rising. Oh, I want one of those. Oh, I got to be this. Oh, I mustn't have that. Get me away from that. We're not haunted and by these luminous sometimes unpleasantly luminous, fiery objects, because there is no interest, there is no passion for them, there's no fighting with them. It's just that the light has gone out on those objects. We have just finished our business with that. Therefore, the light of citta, which you can't see, does not land on these phenomena. Therefore, they do not arise. Right? And this is how we can say that, at least we can, we're not Buddhas, but we can imagine that this is how Buddha, an awakened one, can be around in a world of sights and sounds and people asking him questions without getting to the end of the day thinking, oh no, another day, what am I going to do tomorrow? That person was such a pain, and he was really difficult, and she's great to teach, and it's wonderful. Because he has no passion for that. Therefore, they don't haunt, they don't crowd, they don't fill his mind. Therefore, the Tathagata dwells with unrestricted citta unrestricted by consciousness, unrestricted by form, perception, feeling, mental activities. Citta is unrestricted by birth and death, by defilement and by suffering. Because the passion for these has finished. And so fundamentally, you might say our work, our inclination is how does that dispassion arise? One, or how does the passion cease, depending on which way you want to put it. What lights things up for us? Basically, it's a default mechanism. It's often instinctive, and if you are able to hold it back, you'll see something says, if I get that, I will feel happier. If I get that, I'll have it finished. If I get that, these are not necessarily gross desires. It's a feeling, if that is accomplished, then I will be happy at the end of it. Once I get that done, I will be, if only I knew that, I would feel clear. If only people saw this in me, I'd feel good. If only he wasn't around, I feel much more comfortable. If only I didn't have this impression, I'd feel good. So it's something constantly, bhava, vibhava. Bhava, I want to be this. I want to be in this continuum of experience, which extends beyond my local self into my territorial self, right? Like my planet, my house, my community, my family, whatever it is, my country. I don't want these people in it. I want this. If he wasn't there, that'd be it. And people still buy this line, don't they? Find somebody to blame, political lie. Find somebody to blame, get rid of them, will be okay. Of course, doesn't happen. But it's a very convincing line because it feeds right into our vibhava. Let me not be associated with, let this not happen to me. Defend myself against this. Very powerful craving. Because the compulsive sense of identification with phenomena means if that's there, it's going to get into me and mess me up. There's a passion there. The passion is that which grabs it, pulls it in. We get activated by that person or that phenomenon or that idea or that terrible incident, something of that nature. We get stirred and activated. And we think, well, why not? Maybe you should be activated. Well, there can be activation which is associated with dispassion, which means I'm not personally obsessed with this, but this is appropriate. Right action. So the coolness in which the Buddha manifested all his life. He certainly did a lot of stuff, and not every one of those was a winner. People disliked him, people tried to kill him. Some people didn't understand, monks were misbehaving despite all his efforts and so forth. But he didn't get, oh my goodness, what a waste of time. Why did I bother with all these ninnies? Get me out of here. You know, and just. And Bhawa, I want to be. I want to have a nice, comfortable, agreeable, certainly for the Buddha, you can imagine, I might have been tempted. I'd like a nice, agreeable, comfortable, steady, loyal set of disciples. If you look in the suttas, you can see quite a lot of the time they were wrangling with him, or feuding with each other, or look in the Vinaya, particularly the books of the discipline, all these terrible stories of monks and nuns misbehaving. And the Buddha saying, well, this is not correct. Have I not told you? This is very bad for you, and lays it down. Of course, problems have been going on ever since. So the idea of getting nice, solid territory is not possible, in terms of one's environment, my psychological environment, one's social environment. That is not going to happen. Very strong, wanted to do not feel good if that's not there. There's a passion for becoming. Because, why is this? Because the true security has not been found. So the security of citta sitting in itself, steady in itself, resolute in itself. Its energy is steadied, its knowing is present. It does not seek security in thought, sensation, psychologies, beliefs, physical situations, ideologies. Doesn't need it. Doesn't mean it can't use it, but does not seek this security in it. Does not seek gratification, karma tanha, gratification through the senses. Doesn't mean that we don't see things. The Buddha certainly commented, this is a pleasant grove, this is a peaceful place to live, let's sit here for a while, take a rest, able to sense that. Appreciating, but not, able to be on the move. Most of his life he was on the road, moving through, moving through, moving through. Losing disciples, losing his two chief disciples, Sariputta, Moggallana. Both passed away, and he looks like these really wonderful beings who, according to him, he'd been with for lifetimes in one form or another. Magnificent bastions of the Sangha. They both died before him. He looks around and says, yeah, place looks very empty now, just as if two massive trees are gone. And yet, there is no change discernible in my citta. This is marvelous. Now, you might think that's pretty heartless. He should have been a little bit unhappy. But no, I don't think he was at all unhappy. I don't think he's rejoicing. You can see, yes, there's a loss here. But even recently, myself, I just lost a very good friend who I knew for 50 years. Suddenly had a heart attack, passed away. Genial, friendly, lives nearby, agreeable. Known him since I was 19, dies. And when you look in to tell me, when I look in my mind, it's a recognition of that particular reference point is gone, and there's a kind of quiet space there, an open space there. That's what's happened. For here, what's happened was a perception is no longer available. This person, I acknowledge this person was a real, conventionally speaking person, he is dead. So my first movement of thought is, oh, well, may he be well. May he be well. It's not, I don't care for him. May he be well, may he pass away, may his whatever's coming next for him. He's lived a good life. great, he's lived a good life, he's made a lot of goodness, he's a fine person, he'll go well, he'll go somewhere good. Yeah. Yeah. That's for him. For myself, there's a reference point that can no longer be made. I can't say I'll phone him up. Well, it's these phenomena, grief. The Buddha did not have grief. Lost father, mother, everything, no grief. Because the absence, it's like the citta doesn't get that collapse of part of my territory has disappeared. And I get this lurching feeling of unsteadiness. And as is recounted, Ananda, when he hears Buddha's passing away, he can't bear it. He has to lean on the doorpost crying. Just the idea of the Buddha leaving is just, he can't handle it. Because the Buddha has been such a foundation for him. And and the Buddha says, don't weep, Ananda. You have the teachings, you've done the good. Stay with that. What you have, dwell in that. That's your territory. The going out of the citta sees, oh, that's good. Oh, that's friendly. Oh, that's nice. I could get this and sort that out, and then I'd feel comfortable. And so it would, until those things disappear. And then it feels, unsteady, lost, chaotic, upset, emotions activated. And as the Buddha said, it cannot be that which has arisen, born, compounded, it cannot be that is eternal, it passes away. What can end is the bonding to it, the searching for it, the identifying with it, the colonizing of it, the accumulation of it. So that can end, and then suffering ends. So this very important does not mean that in the presence of phenomena, one can't appreciate them, enjoy them as they are, act upon them, but when they're not there, there's nothing to act upon, is there? So with grief, we're acting upon something that's actually not there. We return to a memory of what could be or should be or won't be, but that's a thought, that's an impression. So this bhava, vibhava, wanting to solidify in any sense, and of course there are vast possibilities for that, Brahma Loka, Deva Loka, refined celestial realms and so forth. But that sense of, notice it. Notice it. And it's the Buddha saying, liberation of citta, or the complete liberation of citta, is through the ceasing of these asava, of which bhava, vibhava, is one of these fundamental default energies. It's not personal, it's default. That which wants to continue, assuming that if we don't continue, there will be, annihilation or something. Because we've never known what it's like not to continue. We've never known what ceasing of becoming is. To assume that without it, we'll feel cold or bleak or lost or, and no, not necessarily. This is not about vibhava, getting rid of things. This is about not turning the light of the citta onto things, not that passion going on to them. Now, this is something that, the whole of our cultivation is angled to work on these very fundamental and compulsive default systems. And the way you can look at this in particular points that are useful to see, becoming is often associated with identity, what I will be, what I dread I might be, what I want other people to see me as, what I fear people see me as, how I compare myself with others. This can be going on, right? And as long as that's going on, is there ever any satisfactory place in that? Do you, yeah? I don't think there is. I haven't seen a satisfactory place in that. Is it possible to not do that? So what I'm suggesting, one says, just go back to the sense of I, very directly, not I am this, I am that, people think I'm this, I want to be that, I'm in this position, I wish I was in that position, just the sense of I. And relax all the things that it wants to, that you associate it with. And there's something. It's neither something nor nothing. There's brightness, there's awareness, there's sensitivity, there's fluency. It's not frozen. Is that something or nothing? You can't define it, but it can be experienced. And from there, what is kindly, what is suitable to bring forth? When does things need to be calmed and quieted? Once you find that place, you begin to take responsibility for what the I sense picks up. Once ago you think, no, you've done that 1,000 times, it didn't get you anywhere good. Just relax, stop that. And, this is not something you necessarily can intellectually figure out. You can understand it, and yet you still find yourself compulsively measuring, comparing. So you need to develop the power of meditation, of samadhi, to hold the mind steady and to recognize that the object you're going to, the idea that you're going to, and where you are now, there is a possibility to break that link. If you're steady, if you really firm up, you don't have to immediately be bonded to that impression that arises in the mind. What you think you are, what you think other people think you are, what you wish you should be, and da-da-da-da-da. You don't need to do that. There's a possibility through the power of stability, samadhi. And so it's a twofold thing. Once you begin to see the weariness and the unsatisfactoriness of becoming anything, in any sense at all, you think that's part of it, and then you've got something else to hold the citta in itself. Another one, time is a very powerful bhava factor of becoming. Time. I've got to get there by 9 o'clock. Everything rushes, doesn't it? Even if it's got a number in it. You do something and you've got to rush to get it done, because if you don't rush, you don't. There's a wish to move forward in time. to the place when, if you move forward fast enough, you get to the place when you've finished. And as you notice, as you do that, oh, look at that, something else needs to be done, and so forth. So that speeding on in time. Yeah. And even if it's just walking to the end of your walking path and you want to get to the end of the path and you don't even want to, it's just that's the default mechanism. As soon as you see something in the future, you want to get to it. As if it won't happen unless you get to it. Is it possible just to receive the present and let it change? Now, though time, in this sense, is really a condition associated with bhava. Now, change, that's true. The present will change in accordance with what the input is. So yes, the future will arise, but we don't, by default, as a reflex, have to rush to it. And checking yourself with this time and time again. And sometimes this rushing in time is to get rid of something. Let me make sure that doesn't happen. Yeah. Now, clearly there are things like houses burning down and you want to move fast. So it's not about moving fast if that is a decisive thing. But when it becomes compulsive, that you can't get into doing something without getting to high speed alert and activation, becoming super busy in planning it, then you realize you've got a problem. You've got a default mechanism. You can't pause. And that's a good check in what you're doing, say cooking a meal, driving to work. Could you stop for 10 seconds? Yeah. Without, oh, I got without worrying, yeah. Is it just stop? Check. It's a very simple exercise. Just stop. Have a timer on your phone. Stop. 10 seconds. Count them. You feel that? And then realize you don't ask that didn't happen. People didn't blame me. I wasn't confused. I was clear. These defaults of speed and time definitely have all kinds of background impressions of what will happen if you don't follow them. If you don't get that thing done, what will happen? Oh, it'll be a mess. It'll be wrong. I'll feel uncomfortable. This kind of stuff goes on. It supports it. People won't like me if I don't do this and other. Well, try. Just gamble on it. And you find, oh, yes, it's different from how I'd normally do it. It wasn't quite the way I wanted it. But actually, I feel much more peaceful in myself. Space is another one, or distance. We're rushing across distance. Feel separate from, distant from. Citta does experience space. Space is the absence of pressure. Distance generally has some kind of pressure in it. Yeah, it's so far. There's a certain being pushed away, or it's not far enough away. So we feel lonely, alone, or we feel, crowded in on. Yeah. These are psychological qualities. Actually, there's only one thing. There's only one place to be. You can't. Your citta doesn't go from here to there. Yeah. Your citta doesn't get in a car and go 100 miles down the road. Your citta stays where it is. Phenomena, sights and sounds change, but your citta doesn't go anywhere in terms of distance. It's got no wheels on it. Different phenomena arise within it, but the citta doesn't actually move in terms of distance or time. And yet these can be very profoundly emotionally triggering experiences. How far are you from somebody sitting next to you don't know? You could feel, oh, I'd like to be a bit further away from them. Yeah. Or I feel so distant from him. Yeah. He's maybe hand's breadth away, arm's length away from you. You're as far or as distant as you're emotionally comfortable. That's what it means, really. If you're emotionally comfortable, you feel, yeah, we've got space, it's comfortable. Yeah. And that could happen if it's 50 miles away. Oh yes, yeah. Still in my heart, because that's the only place where you're residing. So once we see these things as they really are, and see also, the alternative of residing in your true home, as the expression is, in your true time, which is now, changing, which is here and now, and you realize that's possible. It does change some of my strategies, but actually, though it's slightly strange at first, it gets to feel more comfortable. I'm no longer so stressed. I'm no longer so panicky. I'm no longer so agitated. I'm much more flexible in situations. Yeah, I can be with that. What has stopped, what has ceased is tanha, craving, and suffering. What's left? Peace. Yeah. Awareness. Citta. Citta, yeah, experiences the cessation of phenomena. And when it experiences the cessation of phenomena, it becomes realizes that, and realizes its independence from phenomena. It no longer shines the light of passion on phenomena. It no longer searches for phenomena to be gratifying, solidifying, anything, So the light doesn't, it means within your own citta, you haven't got a lot of people in there crowding around. You haven't got a lot of issues. You haven't got a lot of possibilities happening. You don't have a lot of places to go. It sounds miserable if you believe in those qualities. But when we're seeing through those qualities as being reliable places or reliable phenomena that will make you comfortable, you feel a lot better without it. And you have something that can't really be put into words, neither something nor nothing. Yeah. And the Buddha called this unconditioned, citta liberated, or the liberation of citta from the outflows. And it is known. It says the citta is liberated and there is knowing it is liberated. So something is receptive to that. Yeah. And so just look at this in your life. You use the word liberation, and that's there's liberation and complete liberation. So liberation of the heart from ill will is called metta. Heart's deliverance, the heart's liberation from ill will. Means the ill will does not haunt you, does not keep running up, does not keep rising up. That's a liberation of the citta from ill will. So we can look at and realizing that. So the more you're able to touch into that liberation experience of potential, where there was passion, it isn't there. Oh, that's a liberation. It's not complete yet, but you get the flavor of it. And that's how you gain assurance. Because you realize the flavor of liberation, it's not nothing, it's not something, it's a flavor. Yeah. Liberation from the heart from ill will. Practicing. And the more that we begin to recognize that, then we begin to have some reference points that encourage us to challenge our default mechanisms, our default positions, our default activities, our default assumptions about who or what or where we are. And because all those are bases of stress and dukkha. Okay, I'll stop for now for today. And yeah. So yeah, we come to at least I've been talking about quite a bit for a few weeks, and so now in this conventional world, there's going to be a monastic retreat, which everything kind of closes down for a while, for a week or so. So I won't be available next weekend, but the weekend after it, I think October 4 would be a good opportunity to get some feedback, answer questions. So if you have questions, please present them at that time and I will address them as best I can. So take good care and be safe.
Namakataya sadhu karanda damase sadhu 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 anumodami.
Arahang Dhamma Sambuddho Bhagava Vundam Bhagavandam Abhivadhi Suakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Sopatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namam. Okay. So, take care. Thanks everybody for participating, and hope there's some things there you can work with and make use of. Bye for now.